Guys, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to our very first show of Rolling with the Golden Oldies. And you've got four of us ladies here who have over 140 years of wheelchair experience. Lots of experiences. I am Michele Altamirano. I have a C6-7 spinal cord injury. This year will be my 35th year of being a wheelchair user. I've been married for 32 years. I have a 27-year-old daughter, and I'm one of the Triumph ambassadors and happy to be one of the uh, co hostesses here for our new show. And I'm going to go ahead and let everybody else introduce themselves. Ellen, you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Ellen Stohl. I have just passed my 41st anniversary of life in a wheelchair. As a wheelchair user, I was married for 26 years with my partner for 29, but I am just recently divorced. I have a beautiful 20-year-old daughter that'll be 21 this year. And I work with the Triumph organization a great deal and love to engage with these amazing other women that are here. So I work as a university professor and I work in the entertainment industry, but I'm so excited to be part of this show. Mickie, you're up next.
Okay, thanks. I sound like my life is going to be pretty boring after that introduction. Entertainment, I want to hear more about that. I was injured I'm the oldest here. I just turned 70 last year because I was 30. I was injured 40 years ago. January 21st, I was on an ATC, those three wheelers that they stopped making because they were so dangerous. And I was lost control. I let go because I panicked and I was just thrown off and broke my back immediately. So I'm a T1011 para incomplete, but might as well be complete. We can talk about that another time. Anyway, so I live here with my husband of almost 47 years and my son who's 44, he's the oldest, and his wife from Peru and their son Zane who's 4. And my daughter is 42. She lives in Utah with her husband, and I have a son that lives in Pasadena. He's 37. He was my surprise baby. Well, I planned on having him, but I had him after my accident. So anyway, so as we know, life goes on. Thank you, Robert. Robert's here supporting us, and Velma and Bobby. Yay!
Yay.
So Julienne, let's hear about you.
All right. Wrapping it up here. So I guess surprisingly, I'm the youngest at 63 and 27 years in a wheelchair. I'm one that didn't go bang and got hurt. I just woke up paralyzed one day from transverse myelitis. And at the time, I was married to the kid's dad. My daughter was 3, my son was 7 months. And the marriage lasted about another 2 years before he came to me and said, I'm just not happy.
Heard that line.
Join the crowd. I'm not
Yay!
either. No, in those days, I cried. I went, but you can't leave. And looking back now, but eventually, I divorced him. Applied to a charity for a van, and in the pre 9/11 days, I got $30,000 to buy a van. And when I went in to buy the van, they offered me a job. So I sold vans for, about 20 years. And then got picked by the Abilities Expo to work for them. And I've been with them for 12 years and love it. And I know all of these ladies. I've worked with Michele at great lengths when we did Wings. I've met Ellen on and off in the entertainment business over the years, and Mickie and I had a wild trip to Las Vegas together. So
yeah, we saw Lionel Richie.
Fab.
Woo! Yeah, so I think one of the things I'm hearing is that all 3 of you ladies had kids while you were in the wheelchair. Is that a
Yeah. I would just
Wow.
add it. I am a C8T1 incomplete quadriplegic, so I forgot to mention that because I forget that I have a spinal cord injury and what it was sometimes. And so I have no thumb muscles. I function predominantly as a para, but I have a lot of internal quadriplegic issues that people don't know about, like dysreflexia, which was one of the biggest problems when I was giving birth. So it was something that people really had to be aware of, but they weren't because I didn't look like a quad. But I got pregnant and gave birth to my daughter, natural childbirth. And so dysreflexia was one of those things we had to deal with that. So I just wanted to add that. I know that we're going to do Mothers and Mother's Day in May. So we get to talk really in detail about our births and kids and all of the ins and outs of that. But tell me about love. Your partner came to you, Julienne, and said, "I'm not happy," and left. That's what my partner said to me.
Whoa,
Six,
was yours a
5
narcissist? Mine was.
months ago. So 5 months ago, after 29 years together. Not that you don't know, right, Mickie and Michele? You know
Yeah,
that their marriage is definitely ebbs and flows and good times and bad times, and you wax
absolutely.
and you wane. But when somebody comes and announces that they've been unhappy and are moving out, and then you find out they've been planning it for 6 months and you didn't know, in a shock. So my divorce is very recent, very raw, obviously, but and unexpected. And I think my entire identity, I don't know for you ladies, but and I'll turn it over in a second, but we deal with ableism all the time, and we have come to terms with it, but our identity of being married, of having kids, reinforces this and sort of counters some of those ableist ideas that we are dealing with every day. And then to lose
Absolutely.
your partner, or to have them leave, I think for all women it just messes, or anybody whose partner leaves them, messes their identity. But I don't know,
Absolutely.
I feel like it's magnified because of my impairment. And whenever I say my husband left me, the first thing is like, oh, because he couldn't handle the disability. And you're like, no, it had nothing to do with that. That was not
Yeah.
why he was unhappy.
Yeah. And we have to realize that it's
Mhm.
not our job to make our partner happy. We work
Oh,
together to
amen.
make a happy marriage, but you as an individual, you have to find your own happiness.
Right.
So that's on him, not on you guys that weren't happy.
But
And
we weren't raised that way. We were raised to please people. At
oh
least
my
I was.
goodness. Yeah. Well, it works both ways though. It's not just on you or just on him. You got to work together. Um, it's something that you have to nurture, continue working on, as Ellen says. There's ups and there's downs and there's shit, leave my house now, and then there's the I'm sorry, let's talk about it. And as Ellen says, it has nothing to do with being in a wheelchair or being a disabled woman. I knew my husband before my injury. We had been living together a few years. Then we got engaged, and then my accident happened. And at that time, I tried to push him away. I gave him the door. The
Good.
door's there. If you want to leave, you can make your exit now. There's no sense in prolonging it if you're out of here. And come to know, while I was in the ICU, he had a lot of conversations with my sister. And, he actually told her that I was the best person that he had ever met in his life and that he
Oh,
wanted to go with,
Oh,
which I
Wow.
didn't know until many, many years later.
yeah.
And one of the things that everybody was always, oh, he's such a good man. Like, he's such a good man because he stayed with you. No, he was a good man to begin with. It takes a good man he doesn't
That's
become a good
insulting.
man. Yeah, isn't it? Right?
I
Yeah.
hate that line, and you get it all the
No.
time, don't you? Such a good man that he's just like, I'm sorry, he's such a lucky man that he has me to do all this stuff
Absolutely.
for him. Like,
That's right.
they get this idea that the partner is doing everything for you because of the impairment. It's like, no, it is a partnership. And
Right.
yes,
Absolutely.
physical things, take out the garbage, please.
Yeah,
That, vacuum the house because that cord gets wrapped around my wheels. It takes me 2 hours.
exactly.
But,
Yeah,
we give as much, if not more, to our
absolutely.
partners. And I always hated that. He's such a good man for staying with you. And then, of course, he left you because it was too much work to deal with
Oh,
the
yeah.
disability. And you're like, my life does not revolve around, not everything that happens is because of my disability. The issues that I experience in marriage are the same thing my friends who are not in wheelchairs experience, menopause, change in sex drive, miscommunications, different
Yeah.
interests. Like those are the issues that I'm facing, and the chair
Absolutely.
rarely plays a part in it.
That's secondary. Let me tell you what happened. When I had my accident, my husband took it worse than I did. He was a basket case. So I was in the hospital, I think I mentioned this, at Cascalina with 5 men in my room. I thought I was going to freak out. Like,
Oh,
what's going on? I can't deal with this. I'm this young mom with 2 little kids at home. And then he's home just like, oh my gosh, I have a paralyzed wife. What am I going to do now? He had a harder time struggling with it. So after I adjusted the fact that I had 5 men in my room and we got to be friends, I was fine. I'm like, I'm going to be here for 3 months, but I'm going to be taken care of. So that's the thing. I was in the hospital. I was safe. I was learning what I needed to do, what it's like to live in a wheelchair, what I have to do. And he was home dealing with 2 kids and how am I going to live like this? And so he had it a lot worse off than I did. It's because I was a stronger person to begin with.
but before your injury, though, like, were you a stay-at-home mom? Were you working?
Yeah.
What was your life like? Yeah.
Well, we were
Then,
only married 7 years, so that wasn't very long. But I was a waitress at night. They call him server now. And he was home. But I mean, we had a
They
babysitter in
call
the
them
day.
strippers now. Is that what you said?
Huh?
Honestly, what I heard you say was, I was a waitress at night. They call them strippers now.
No, server.
Oh, I like the other
Julienne,
story
you know
better.
what I said. Yeah, no, not me. So yeah, I worked at night, and then he would come home and take care of the kids after work, and we had somebody help us during the day. And anyway, so I was doing okay, and then I had this accident, and everything fell apart. But he stayed with me mostly because he can't deal with change.
Oh,
He was like, yeah, that's basically what it was. He's like, well, I think I hate to say this, but I think if I'd been a quad and he had to do anything to help me, be independent, or he wouldn't be able to deal with it. He couldn't, you know what I'm talking about, bowel, bladder, all that stuff, all that crap. He
it
wouldn't be
kind of
able to.
sounds like in his mind that, you weren't going to be that mother, stay-at-home mother, and take care of the household and take care of him. And he saw the
Exactly, right,
reality of
Michelle.
what it was like to be a parent that's there
Because
with a kid.
he got married right out of his parents' house. He never lived
Yeah.
on his own, very sheltered, so he had a really hard time dealing with it. But he stayed with me. But like I said, most of it's because he didn't want to have to deal with change. But yeah, if I'd been a quad, I don't think he'd be around.
so Mickey, do you think that? So, and this is the thing, you came back, and I don't know if you other ladies feel the same pressure to actually have to be better and stronger and more capable to take that weight off of your partner. Like I have to be Wonder Woman, and that's a pressure all the time.
Yeah,
Like
of
I
course.
have to be able to do it all. I mean, I think the Barbie movie, which is an amazing
Mm-hmm.
uh, testament of the pressure that women are under. But I think that being in the chair, having an impairment and being seen as disabled magnifies that pressure, that somehow we have to be even more everything,
To
so that
compensate.
people don't attribute it. And that is just so hard if your
Yeah.
partner is not carrying the rest of that load. And it just,
Absolutely.
it's tough.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely.
It really is. Yeah. Especially when your
They're
kid
both good. They want to be taken care of,
does.
right?
Sorry, Mickey. When your kids
I
start
just
school,
said,
because you feel like other mothers are judging you and they're looking at you, and it's like, is your kid, wearing clean clothes and hair's brushed, and did he get a good healthy lunch or not or whatever? And in those days, oh my God, I remember. I look back and I have no idea how I did it. Volunteered in my
a blur.
school or
It's just a blur.
wings at the time. Pretty much taking care of my household. My husband has always been very hands on, but all the things that I did out of the home were
Yeah.
like, you
When
know,
we were younger, we
it's
had
like
more
I had to
energy.
prove myself that I was a good mom and I was taking care of my child. And so I did it all, the room mom, the PTO, the fundraising, everything. I was there for every single thing at that school.
Yep. I worked in my kids' library, and I
Yeah.
love being out so kids can see, oh my gosh, look at their mom's in a wheelchair, but she seems to be fine. I was
Yeah.
always out with my kids doing stuff, and I think it helped a lot. and
Did you
somebody in the
Yeah,
school.
did you also feel though, because in terms of love and marriage, now you guys were with your partners before, and are still with them after the accident. I was single and 19 when I was injured and still a virgin. So like, yeah, I hadn't really
Yeah.
had sex. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, I grew up flat as a board till I was 16. Like I was called Q-tip in high school because I got a perm, ladies, don't know why.
Oh,
But I had
must have
a,
done me.
I had an afro, a blonde afro, and I was stick figure, flat as board, and was literally nicknamed Q-tip by everybody. So I already had body image issues until, I grew 16, all of a sudden up and out in all the right places. Um, but, then having the injury sort of magnified all those issues and feeling like, I mean, absolutely, we all know that I overcompensated, posed for Playboy. So, really to get that sense of
Yeah.
sexuality back. But being in a wheelchair as women and for men, but it is harder for women in wheelchairs to find partners than it is for
Yeah.
men in wheelchairs to
Absolutely.
find partners. And sort of we're already seen as asexual and less attractive, and that's then magnified, this
Mhm.
disability thing. And like, do you feel that pressure? Because I always feel if I go out because I'm harried and I'm late and I don't put makeup on or whatever,
Yeah.
like people don't judge me as just being a busy woman. They judge me as being, oh, that poor disabled woman, and look at how hard
Mhm.
Maybe.
her life is. And it's like, oh my God, it's not all about the freaking chair.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't
Right.
have time to do stuff.
Hmm.
That's
Absolutely.
true. So, Ellen, do you have the desire to start dating again and maybe one day get married again?
Hey, baby, never getting married again. Sorry, ladies, never having another man
That's
in my
okay.
home. I do, I I'm not looking for a man to take care of me. I'm definitely not
Yeah.
looking to take care of another man.
Yeah.
I would love to start dating again if somebody can make me laugh, if somebody is independent, self-assured, and capable. But I mean, literally, this is, guys, 5 months. It hasn't even been, it'll be 6 months
Hmm.
that he told me he was moving out, let alone, that I found out that he was planning it for over a year now. And, so just having to process that. But Juliana, you were married, got a divorce, and then remarried. So how was getting back into the dating world for you? Because, and if you ladies, and just to put it to you after Juliana, is like, if you got divorced, would you go out and start dating again? Or how would you feel about that?
I fought it tooth and nail. I did not want to get married. I did not want to date. I wanted to raise my kids and leave me alone.
Hmm.
But I was also out in public all the time selling, and then at the Abilities Expo. And Dan, my husband now of 20 years, he came up to me at the Abilities Expo when I was selling vans for advanced mobility back in the day. And I thought he wanted to buy a van. No, no, no.
He had other
What's
ideas.
something else?
But at the
Hmm.
same time, my kids were what, 7 and 10, and here I am working full time. So I had a lady at the house who's helping me, but she couldn't drive. So Dan basically became the house husband. And when we started dating, I said, "You got to know, for me, the kids will always come first. You are not going to be number one in this relationship ever.
Good for you. Good for you.
Can you, if you want to date or under those conditions,
Yeah.
okay." Now, most recently, what I'm going through is Dan is sick. Dan
Oh.
used he would use a wheelchair if we went out, but could do anything around the house. Now he's in a wheelchair.
Hmm.
A wheelchair family is not fun.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. So, I mean, if only in the kitchen going, okay, I'm going this way, you go that way.
Oh, great.
Wow.
Can you imagine in your houses, ladies, having two wheelchairs trying to? Oy.
Yeah.
Now his
Wow.
is temporary, but Ellen, you were saying before about how everything changes and you go through all these different phases. Well, this is a phase that is the hardest of our marriage. We're both so frustrated, we're screaming at each other.
Mhm.
Um, but then we both go, "It's not you, it's me. I'm just so damn frustrated.
Hmm.
What are you
At
gonna
least
do?"
you're both admitting it, that it's you and not the other person.
Well, to
Yes.
answer your question, Ellen, if I were to get divorced, if I was a lot younger, yes, I would probably still want and date, find someone I have things in common with, go out, have fun. To get married again, probably not.
Never.
Because, well, up to this point, it's like we've made it through 32 years, and we're still hanging in there. I think it would be too hard to try to find something like that again.
Can
And
I say something? Has
what's that?
everybody realized, noticed that, like, if men and women, either one gets widowed or divorced, the man 90% of the time has to find another woman right away. The woman's like, I'm fine, I don't need another man, kind of like we're talking about now. But men, for some reason, they have to find another person to take care of them.
Take
What
care
do
of
you mean
them.
for some reason? We know what the reason is.
Yeah, right.
So many of my friends, men that lose their wives to they're widowers or divorced, they have to go out and find another woman. The woman's like, I'm fine. I'm don't bother me, kind of like you were
Because
saying.
we can
Julie.
take care of ourselves. We're
Yeah.
very self-sufficient and independent, with or
I'm
without a man.
afraid, I'm afraid with some negative comments after what I just said.
No, I think it's absolutely true. And often they find, whether it's a good friend or more, before they even make the move to leave. There's the, that comfort
Ah,
level of being. I think predominantly for men of a certain age. I don't think that our age, because of the way, again, you mentioned it, we were raised to believe in certain things that we were supposed to have and supposed to be, and I think men in our generation were raised to expect to be taken care of by their mothers and then
Yeah,
their partners. And so I feel in some ways they weren't given the opportunity to develop that set of emotional
yeah.
skills and capability. But I think it is true. I think women, more often than not, when they find themselves single, are like, yeah, I'm never taking care of another man again, or having to, what? And I also think it's worrying about pleasing them. I mean, I think, as you mentioned, Juliana, we were raised to be pleasers, that it is our job to make everything work and to make
Mhm.
everyone happy, and to
Mhm.
have that pressure off is like, oh my God, it feels, whew, I don't have to worry
Yeah.
if you're happy today. I don't have to worry
Like
what.
if
And again, we take the blame for it. I don't have to worry what I did wrong or if the house is messy or I didn't do. So,
Mhm.
I think that those are a lot of the social pressures and indoctrination that this generation grew up with. And I don't know that it's every individual. It's just the way that we've been socialized at this
Yeah.
age to believe that. And then that,
Mhm.
if you don't talk, and you don't communicate about
Absolutely.
those frustrations because you weren't taught to talk, then they just build and things fall apart. So, I think
like that saying,
communication is so important.
if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy,
That's
right?
right.
That saying.
The thing
Well,
too that
All
we
comes
have,
back to us.
sorry, go ahead, Mickey.
No, I said all comes back to us. If mom ain't happy, nobody's happy.
That's
You know,
right.
it all
Yeah.
comes back
And these
to
guys have to realize it's no longer the 60s and 70s. The relationship your parents had, the life they lived, the partnership they had, that doesn't exist anymore. It was a different time. And I don't know about you ladies, but I have a feeling you were raised to be independent, Otherwise, I don't think we'd be here. If we
right.
weren't,
Well,
yes.
it's interesting at this age. If we all went back 20 years, at least 20 years ago, I was having sex. Different way of communicating. With my current
Mhm.
husband, actually, I was having sex now that I think about it. Um, he'd be happy to know that. But different, we had that way of communicating. Well, we haven't had that for 10 years, probably. That form of communication is gone. And let's face it, that was very soothing. It was a nice thing. But your relationship, for me, my relationship became very different once sex was off the table.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, I mean, it definitely, and menopause, we can do a whole episode on how it impacts women in general, but for us as well, menopause, the change in sex drive when your relationship is initially
Everything.
together and it's a lot of sex, even with kids, making time and dates and having sex. And then, I don't know that men's sex drive diminishes as a woman's does. And if it has been like for my partner and I, it was, definitely a way to reassure, to soothe, to comfort. And when that began to lessen, it wasn't off the table and it wasn't done. But when my drive definitely took a dive,
Yeah.
I think that then insecurities grow. And if you can't develop that new way to communicate, then, I always said that people with disabilities have better sex than other people because we have to communicate, right? It's not insert
Mhm.
A into B to achieve the big O, because it doesn't work that way. What we feel, how we need it is different. And that actually, for your partner and you, can create a more intimate communicating sexual
Mhm.
relationship, because
Absolutely.
it is so intimate and you're talking and sharing, and it's not Grey's Anatomy with roses and music, right? So
Yeah.
when that form of communication shifts, to find that level of intimacy, I think is different and can you know, begin to create that disconnect, that gap. And if you can't bridge it, then you find
Uh,
yourselves like Simon and Garfunkel's dangling conversations, like,
Oh, you
I
bet.
only kiss your shadow, I cannot touch your hand. And if you can't do that, and then the relationship is not going to come out of that waning, and it's heartbreaking.
yeah.
Hmm.
And I think, if for those of us who were with our spouses before our injury and stuff, everything changed. So we had to find a new way to communicate, to be intimate. And I think that was one of the best parts, is because it's like we were starting over. Now, with my body as it functioned, you know, um, got to try different things, see what works, what doesn't work.
Or
I'm
if
glad
you're married to my
I'm glad to
husband,
be a very flexible quad. It's
Yeah, stretching is so
yeah, right.
important.
Yeah, but yeah, it just everything came to a halt, and now it's like, okay, we got to figure this out. And one of the good things that I always tell people about my now husband, at the time, he didn't treat me differently. He had the same expectations of me in our relationship, in our partnership. I had my responsibilities that I still had to fulfill, and all of that. And I think that's the best thing he could have ever done for me. I mean, okay, to the point to where, a few months post injury, having been home, I would get frustrated, because my hands hadn't come along yet. I'd made huge messes, still trying to figure out, still severely depressed, crying every day. And, for him to have seen me as I was struggling, but also seeing me still as an equal partner, I think, really did help me in the long run.
Absolutely. When I first met my husband, I would just say I mean, not that the wheelchair didn't matter. He definitely acknowledged it was part of me, but it was not who I was,
Mhm.
nor did he have any less expectations about my ability. And I think that's what really, was the reason I fell in love with him at the time, was he just saw me. I mean, one of the first times we were together, I had a bladder accident and was just humiliated, like, like, oh my God,
how
this is so
romantic,
Yeah,
embarrassing.
right.
Back at 20, back in my 20s, having a bladder accident was, just I couldn't just was awful. And
Yeah.
his response was, as I was hiding out in the bathroom, freaking out, was to come in and wash my hands. And it was that, just like, but you're still, we're still going to have the same expectations. If we go
Mhm.
out, you're still going to do things. When we got married, and had a baby, you're still going to help raise the baby. And
No,
and
absolutely.
that acknowledgement of us being equal partners was really,
Mhm.
really important, I think, and
Absolutely.
valuable to make that difference.
Absolutely.
But Mickie, what about you? And you've been married the longest, and so how
Right.
has your journey as husband and wife and sexual partners, or partners in parenting,
Well,
evolved and changed?
it was better in the beginning. I think I mentioned, I don't know if I should say this, sometimes it just felt like a receptacle, if you know what I mean. Um, kind of like, okay, I'm just here because I have no feeling there, right? So I was just there to give him pleasure.
oh,
Um,
that was my second marriage. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the thing is,
Before
we
we
have
and
had sex
well,
one way,
time.
and then after I was injured, he had sex the same way. It's like he wasn't interested
yeah,
in communication and all that good stuff Ellen was talking about. But go ahead.
yeah. Anyway, so that's about all I want to say about it. I want to know who wants to answer Crypto Rob's question.
Oh,
I don't
I
see it.
don't see the question. Okay.
It says,
Oh,
you guys see the comments?
Yes,
Yes.
I can just a little bit on that. Yes, and research does show that men in wheelchairs are more likely to find a partner than women in wheelchairs, mainly because a lot, especially as we get older, but mainly because women are tend to be socialized to be more nurturing and caring and
Nurturing.
understanding and
Absolutely.
communicative.
Yeah.
They A lot of women don't have the spread effect, like they don't think their own sense of self-worth and value because they're independent, confident women.
Hmm.
Don't have to don't succumb to society's pressures of what's wrong with you if you're with somebody who has an injury. Whereas
Yeah.
I think men are socialized to be, to feel judged by who they have on their arm. And so they want the eye candy, the perfect person, the
Women.
whatever, because it's part of their sense of self and identity. And
Absolutely.
also just, I think the belief that, people in wheelchairs are asexual really, you know, um,
Yeah.
makes men look at women in wheelchairs as not being a potential sexual partner. And I think women are just more open-minded, so they're more open to talk to their
Like,
partner who's in a chair and to find out what works and to connect on a physical level as well as an emotional level. So I really do think it's easier if you get out there. I mean, if you're not getting out there and getting involved in Triumph or
yeah.
going to events or meeting
Whatever.
people, it's not easy for anybody. You've got to put yourself out there.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and for anybody in a wheelchair, you have to be more outgoing and
Mhm.
more interactive
I
because
think,
of
and you
all
have
the
to be
social
comfortable
stigma.
in your own skin. You have to reach a point to where, you know what, I love myself. I'm a good person. I have a lot to offer. Um, when you feel positive and confident out there, people aren't going to be afraid to come to you as opposed to kind of shying away and not really wanting to interact with people. So you definitely have to be comfortable in your skin to feel approachable to other people. And the same is, with if you're trying to date and find a man, you're not going to go for the guy who's kind of not, not paying attention, not in, participating in the group or interacting. It's like, you want somebody that you're going to be attracted to for who they are, conversation, how they carry themselves, and all of that.
We
confidence.
want, yeah, we want
Absolutely.
somebody that looks past the chair. I think
Hmm.
the best compliment I get when I ask somebody, well, is that place accessible? I don't think about you to be in a wheelchair. I think
Hmm.
that's such a great compliment when they say, I
Yeah.
don't even think about you being in a wheelchair because they see
Yeah,
past that, they see us.
it it's a compliment in that they see you as the person first, but and it absolutely is that they're seeing the person first, but it's also a very ableist statement in that they see the wheelchair as a negative, so they don't want to see it as part of who you are. And I mean, that's something I've come to learn that it's actually I am in a wheelchair, and I'm not ashamed of being in a
Yeah.
wheelchair. And so when you tell me I don't look like somebody who should be in a wheelchair, or you don't think about me being in a wheelchair,
Mhm.
you're trying to distance me from an integral part of me that I'm
Yeah.
very proud of. So,
Hmm.
and I've just learned that because before I used to think it was an amazing compliment too. I get that I appreciate that they think I can do and be anything, but I can do all of that and still be in a wheelchair. So remember
Yeah.
that I'm in it. So you don't leave shoes
Yeah.
on the floor or block the doorway or leave clothes in the bathroom. Remember it because it's respect for me and an understanding that I'm not less because I have wheels and use them. So
And I
it's
think
kind
in the
of one
past,
of
I
those things.
talk to women, about dating and being out. Well, they don't pay attention to me. All they see is a wheelchair. Well, that's not the right person for you. The right
No.
person for you is the one who's going to see you for you, not the wheelchair and not the asshole who, you know, doesn't give
And
a
that's
shit
where
and just
and
to
I
do
just
the
say
right.
that's where Mickey's comment is the compliment. When they see the individual,
Absolutely.
I absolutely reinforce
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
when you see me as the person, because you're right, Michelle, it's when you see me. And I know, I mean, that is why Juliana, your husband came over because he see, your energy, your personality, what you're changing. But it's that confidence that you mentioned. So
Absolutely.
Now,
how do you
when
get
I
that?
was at when I was at Northridge Hospital back in '96, and we went on our field trip to the movies or whatever, I was sitting there, and this guy came over to me and said, "You are the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in a wheelchair." And I went, Yay!
Right? Yeah, you're super
Add
easy
that
to
at
know
the end.
there.
You know what? And thank you, Rebecca, for reminding us not to generalize. We need to own our own journeys, and I do apologize if I've made general statements, but you are
Yeah.
absolutely right. We need to talk about our own journeys and not, generalize in that. And also, um, WJ Weavers, it'll take a while. I heard that dealing with
Oh,
divorce can take at least a month for every year that was married, if not more. So it is stuff, and it's still really. So I'm with you. I'm right there
but
with you.
like everything in life, getting a divorce is you grieve that loss. You've lost something that you had and you cherished for so long. You invested time and effort and love and yourself, into this relationship. And when it falls apart, it can be devastating. You grieve that loss and you have to allow yourself the time to grieve that loss. As we grieved our losses when we were first injured, you know um so you
Well,
need to
I'm on
know.
my third marriage, and what I did on both of my divorces is I just made a list of all the things that I love doing by myself or with friends, just to keep. And I made sure that a lot of them were going out and seeing other people, not just, you know, masturbating in my room, but but doing things that made me happy was the
Yeah,
way I got through my divorces.
yeah.
So just, if that helps you, it helped me.
And the
And
thing
it's a
is
great.
too, in this partnership, it's not about doing everything together. You have mutual interests that you enjoy going out and doing, and you have personal interests that you'd rather go do with a girlfriend or with a particular group, and that's okay. You can
It's
be
okay sometimes. With my second
well.
husband,
It
it's not okay.
Uh, controlling,
abs
right?
yeah.
Narcissist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is hard, and
Hmm.
great point, Michelle. I mean, I was always lucky to maintain my own purpose, my own identity, and my own life throughout my marriage. So
Absolutely.
now that it's over, I still have that aspect of who I am and that independence. I was always raised incredibly independent, so I still have that. But there is also a loss of identity. I mean, I will cry thinking about it because
Yeah,
I was a wife,
yeah,
and that's tough. There is a great article in the LA Times on a heartache, um,
yeah.
and that sense of awe, Juliana, that you talk about. Go out, find your purpose. It is great about how
Absolutely.
to the actual physiological, psychological way to deal with heartache is to find the things that interest you, to
And to
nurture
help
Absolutely.
them.
other people.
Yeah.
The more
I
you're helping
hate
other
that I
people,
cry. I don't
No,
want to
that's
cry if I cry,
okay.
but I'm
It's
not sorry I'm
heartfelt.
crying because it's painful to lose anything, even if it was the direction you're going, even if you can say, I say that because my friends will be like, oh, best thing that ever happened to you. I don't know anything is the best thing that ever happens to you. I think things happen to you and you learn and you grow and you make it become what it is. And so I have amazing things happening. I'm on this incredible show with these amazing ladies, which is something that came from all of this, but it's hard and I'm not going to apologize for crying. But this article in the
Right.
LA Times, it's a great article about heartbreak and how to find your purpose, how to find awe, and that awe is is the soothing part for heartbreak. See the awe in nature, the awe in what other people do, in human kindness, and we can be awed
Mhm.
by somebody's kindness. That
Yes.
can fill you, and so maintaining that. And I am incredibly lucky that my identity as a professional, as a professor, as a mom, as a cosplayer, as an actress, all intact, all doing incredibly well. My
Oh,
identity
cosplay?
as a wife and
Mm.
somebody's wife,
Yeah.
which I was raised to believe was the pinnacle of
Right.
identity, that took a hit. And so, it's as my therapist says, and I recommend therapy for everybody. It's you move forward 2 steps, you backslide, and then
Yeah.
that's how you keep going. But I think there are no best things that happen to you. There are things that happen to you. And you make the best of it by learning and growing. That doesn't mean it's not painful as hell, because it is.
Absolutely. And never be afraid to cry. I'm a big cry. To me, it's very healing. You're allowing yourself to feel the pain, the heartache, whatever it is you're going through, and to release it is such a catalyst sometimes, because if you internalize everything and don't let those emotions out, it eats at you. So, I'm a great advocate for a good cry every once in a while, just to leave it out. It's like a great rainstorm, right? It comes and it pours and it washes everything clean, and you kind of get a sense of renewal after the big rainstorm, you know?
Sound like
So
my sister,
it's great to
but
cry.
and I'm not a crier. I don't cry.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that going really fast in my power chair and yelling and screaming, that'll do it for me.
There you go.
I live on
Mine
a
was
hill,
great.
so
And
Okay.
now I have to be careful when I'm driving because now I just smile and but good job because
Yeah,
I'm
right.
afraid out there on the roads when
Oh,
flip
I
off the
know.
wrong person is not
You
safe
can't
anymore.
anymore. No. Yeah.
But I'm a crier too, obviously. And I try to tell my students crying, and I read somewhere, don't apologize when you cry. Just say, I'm having a lot of emotions right now because you shouldn't be
Absolutely.
sorry that you're having emotions. Just state,
No,
I'm
not
having
at all.
a lot of emotions right now. Something happened.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm trying to embrace that because Juliana, I'm
Yeah.
like you, I don't like to cry. And then the more I try not to cry, the more I do
The
cry. And
more
then
you want to cry.
and then everybody thinks I'm crying because I'm in a wheelchair and my life sucks. I'm like, that's not why I'm crying. I'm crying because my husband left you. They'll be like, and he left me because you're in a wheelchair. And I'm like, no, that's not why
Yeah.
he left me. It had
That's
nothing to do with the wheelchair. But,
absolutely.
Ellen, did you say, Ellen, that you were blindsided or you knew it was coming?
oh no, I was, I mean, we were having problems, definitely. We were having problems. But did I think he was moving out and moving in with an old friend? No. I was blindsided on that aspect. So,
Yeah.
the running narrative is they're just friends. She sold her house though in New Jersey and moved out here. I mean, it's an old high school friend, and I'm like, hell of a friend.
that's a good friend.
That is a
Yeah.
hell of a friend. But you keep your narrative. No, I was blindsided. I mean, I knew we were having problems. Trust me, there were problems in the
Yeah.
bedroom, problems with communication. We were, definitely having problems trying to figure out how to navigate it. I did not know they were at that level. I did not know he was that unhappy or that he had been planning on moving out for 6 months and hadn't told me. I think that was the hardest part was for 6 months. And then you have to wonder, were the problems because of us or because you were working on something, you know what I mean? Like, so which is the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
What
Right.
caused the elevation of problems? Was it just the marriage and the course we were taking, or the fact that you were unhappy with the marriage and making a different plan, and now you're really unhappy with it? I don't know. I'm
Or
still
the
figuring
Exactly.
it all out.
The fact of no communication.
Yeah,
That's
that is for
where
me
the
too.
chicken and
I
egg
was
come
not a good
together.
communicator, so I take full blame. Absolutely, I played my own role in it, but I have to also know it's not all my fault either. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
but we're women. It's always our fault. We have to make everybody
No.
happy all the time, and if they're not, it's because of us. Sorry, I just reread the Barbie thing in the LA Times. We should get the LA
Right.
Times to advertise about, but
Absolutely.
because they're nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, so they had the whole America Ferrera speech, and so I just actually read it right before this. So I'm feeling very,
Yeah,
that
when I
pressures of
Wow.
being a woman, and I think they're
saw
magnified by
that
being a
speech,
woman in a wheelchair.
my thought was everybody's going to audition with this thing. That was when America and like, oh, the casting directors are going to get so sick
Yeah.
of this. Wait, we missed out on Mickie. Are you a crier?
No,
No.
I kind of am past crying sometimes. It's just hard to get tears out.
Mm.
There's time, I don't know, it's really weird. It just depends on what's happening, but I'm not generally a crier.
Is
I
it
hold
because
everything
you
in.
feel more kind of indifferent of the relationship
Yeah,
now?
that's a
Is it
good, yeah,
really?
empty, just, yeah, I
Mhm.
just kind of hold everything in. And
Yeah.
I want to ask Ellen how her kids are dealing with her divorce.
My daughter I only have the one daughter who is,
Oh, I'm
again, the joy
sorry.
of my life, and who, since the minute she was conceived took first place. I always unfortunately told my ex that if we were on a cliff and one of you are falling, I'd be grabbing her. Sorry, but that's just the way it
That's
is.
yeah. That's
She is
awesome.
the love of my life. She'll be 21 this year.
Wow.
So we're going to Greece to celebrate her 21st and my 60th. So it's our
Not
milestone birthday year. Yeah, I had her very
Nice.
late. Yeah. So she's amazing. She says, "Mom, stay out of it. My relationship with my father is mine because I want to fix.
Mhm.
You know, they have.
mm,
I want to get in there, make sure
yeah.
everybody feels loved and taken care of on both sides. Does he feel her
No.
love?" She's like, "I'm an adult, Mom. This is mine. Stay the hell out of it." So
Yeah.
that is what I'm trying to do, is to allow them to have
Yeah.
their own relationship and do their own things, as
Absolutely.
opposed to my trying to say, "Hey, did you ask her about this? Hey, did you ask your dad about this? Hey,
Mm,
like, I'm trying to get them in the same. My therapist's like, "Knock it off. She's an adult." I'm
yeah.
like, "Okay, I'll try.
Absolutely.
I'll try. I want everybody to be happy all the time."
Yeah.
Okay, so I had issues in my
Not gonna
childhood
happen.
keeping my
Right.
mom
There you
happy,
go.
but yeah. But
Absolutely.
yeah, she's doing I mean, my daughter is incredible. When we talk on the Mother's Day show, I get to brag her up, but she's pretty incredible, and she is.
Right.
I'm incredibly lucky that she sees me not just as her mother, but as a friend. I'm like the roller derby mom, so she plays roller derby. So her
Yeah.
friends have embraced me and come over. So I have an incredibly good support system with her. So that's nice. I
You know,
mean,
some movies have really made me cry. You ever see A Beautiful Life, Roberto
Mm,
yes.
Benigni? Oh my gosh, some movies have
mm,
really made me cry.
yeah.
So,
And I think Michelle's right. We should watch those when we need that shedding of,
yeah.
it's getting it out. It's important.
Yeah.
Crypto
Absolutely.
Rob is giving you a shout out, Ellen.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, communication is been, and I fail on that too, because I want to fix things before I communicate about the problems. And I think that was a real problem, as opposed to saying, "Hey, something's wrong." I was trying to figure out, how do we
Yeah.
and so I'm absolutely to blame for lack of communication, lack
Yeah.
of addressing. Well, it's easy to ignore, right? So, you know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
do we
Hey,
want to
sometimes
bring it
it's
up?
you
Do
and
we
me.
want to open that can of worms, ladies? And
Exactly.
so,
Yeah.
you know, we're keeping the status quo going, the day to day, taking care of the kids. I mean, my daughter still lives at home, and taking care of the
Hmm.
bills and taking care of the pets. And so, sometimes, unfortunately, the marriage gets a back seat,
Yeah,
and the
You're
when
just
communication.
going through the motions, doing what needs to be done day to day. And
the
yeah,
man gets put on the
once
back burner,
communication breaks down, yeah, hard.
when the man gets put on the back burner, the egos can't handle it sometimes.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
You know,
think so. And yeah, and if we don't, it's not our job to reach out necessarily. It's mutual, but if we're busy and focused on other things, and I know I'm a strong, like, if you're not going to take care of something, I'll do it myself. Then
Get it
fine.
done.
I'm a fine person, but when I'm saying fine, that's not good.
That's
If
a
I'm saying
warning.
I'm fine, that means
oh my
shit's about
God,
to
I
hit the
get
fan.
in trouble for that all the time.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so that is but again, you think that your partner should know. I don't know. It's just, yeah, there's just a lot of things that lead up to it. And I could just say communication, 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 take the
Absolutely.
risk, talk about it. Because if you don't, even if you're expecting something or you think it might lead there, when
Yeah.
it happens, theory and practice are completely different. Theory, I
Yeah.
mean, he literally said, "I didn't think you'd care." And I was like, how would you
Whoa!
think that? Yeah, how would
Yeah.
you think that after 29 years of marriage? I mean, but again, I'm not processing things through
Yeah.
his filters, what they're
Was that
saying, and that,
just passive aggressive? Is that what
Yeah.
that was all about?
no, I think honestly he didn't think I'd care, because, there was disconnect, and I'm taking care
Mm.
of the world and doing my
Doing your
things and
thing.
everything. And, I think that you if you don't address the problems when they're first starting, or you start to see them grow, then you're going to be
Exactly.
blindsided. And I think that
Yeah.
that is the responsibility of everyone in the
Yeah.
partnerships and the relationships. So, I'd like to make him out to be the total bad guy, but no,
Yeah.
I played my part. It
Yeah.
takes two. It takes two.
Yeah.
Or in
I,
this
I would
And
case,
say that,
because you choose not to see the issue doesn't mean they're not there. You know,
yes.
there's a
Even if you
lot that we can, yeah, exactly. We put our blinders on and we're just looking straight ahead and not paying attention to what's going on over here on this side or whatever. And sometimes we just get into those ruts in marriages, in relationships. And then
I
you
don't
got to,
know. I think you
wait a
girls are
minute.
being awfully good to this guy. I mean,
yes.
he chose another woman.
No.
Ellen,
And
did
that's the
you?
thing, as you say, you don't know what the relationship is, but he has an emotional relationship with this woman.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
Ellen,
Yes.
did you do
He
that?
had at minimum an emotional affair, and that
Yeah.
is what's bad about it. And I'm not taking the blame off of the individual, but I also know that, again, and this is the way my therapist is just like you, Juliana. She's like this. Stop it! Stop being
Yeah.
so nice. I'm like,
You're
I
pissing me
don't
off.
from everybody's perspective, but I'm not in that individual skin, and that's the thing. We say things, but other people perceive them differently than we. For me, now I'm generalizing again. I know that I can say things or I can hear things, and I hear something completely different than what
Hmm.
the individual is saying to me. So if
Absolutely.
somebody says you don't look good in that dress, I immediately go, I look fat, right? And that's not what they
Yeah.
meant. They're like the color, the cut,
Yes,
whatever.
that's what
But
every
I'm
woman thinks.
filtering it through my own brain. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the way he executed the end of our relationship was really, really not okay, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
But
interesting word. You
you
used the
know,
word executed.
yeah, executed it,
Yeah.
it killed it. And that was not okay. But I think it's hard, and I think as Mickie, again, you've been married the longest, and you know, we all know, and Michelle and Julie, you guys been
Yeah.
married a long time. The ups and the downs, like we have really great times and everything is in
Hmm.
sync, and then like you want to bury them in the backyard, right? Like if I could get away with it, where would I put that grave? So it's navigating that, and I think I always, having been with my partner so long, thought we were just in one of those really bad ruts. We would figure it out again.
Absolutely.
But I
Yeah.
think when you're in that rut and the partner finds an emotional support, whether it's
Hmm.
is going on, it's easier to have somebody whisper in your ear, like, you got to do what makes you happy. You got to do what makes you happy. And you know what makes you happy? Moving in with me. And so I don't know what the relationship is. I don't want to assume that it's more than, what I've been told it is. But, I'm also not a naive chicken to think, that
Yeah.
just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, you know,
Yeah.
but that affects your sense of self, your sexuality, all of those things. I'm back to being a teenager. He likes her more than me. She's, but I mean, we all go through that. We never grow out of it completely. I mean,
No,
I want
absolutely.
to be, you know, what Judy Dench. I want to be Judy Dench, who just doesn't really give a fuck. She's beautiful, she's talented, she's smart, and she really doesn't give a fuck. And I want to be that person. I'm not there yet. I'm still, not there. But Mickie,
Hey,
tell us
I
about the
think
50, 50 years. How long? 47? Did you
47,
say?
yeah.
47.
47. So you're getting close to that 50th.
I know. I don't know if I'm going to make it.
I'll be there for you if you need it.
Hey, Ellen, what do you teach at, and what school do you teach at?
I teach at California State University, Northridge. I have been there for 23 years as an educator, but I've been on the campus as a student and an educator since 1990, so 34 years. I absolutely love it. I love that we have a new disability studies minor. We are the only CSU in the system that will have a new disability studies minor coming up this fall.
yay.
So yeah,
Wow.
really helping teach the students, and that's why I say I've learned, even as a person in a chair for 41 years, I've learned so much about disability and systemic ableism and a lot of my own internalized ableism by
Mhm.
teaching this course the last 10 years. I don't know how long I've been teaching that one, but I also coordinate the teacher education courses. So really trying to bring the idea that everybody experiences disability, and you're all gonna have one someday, and that it's not
Yeah.
the other. And hopefully, so that more people with impairments can, find partners and love and marriage and be appreciated and acknowledged and accepted for the whole package.
Yeah.
Because the stigma is still so. I mean, I have students that will be, I ask the first question in classes, how many of you have a disability or use assistive technology? And I'll get 3. And yet 80% of them wear glasses. And I'm like,
Mhm. We
y'all
don't see
disabled
that.
without those
The
glasses. They're like,
assistive
no,
device.
not me. And I'll be like, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just
And just,
changing attitudes and helping not only them, but myself. I'm always a work in progress. So
yeah, I think we all
The
are.
reason I asked is because I really appreciate it, your perspective being an educator, because I think we need somebody in our group that has that, and appreciate that you're here for us. Because I'm learning a lot just from you. Not that I
thank
can't learn anything from Michelle and Julienne, but
And
Hey,
just a
you learned from me
reminder
in Las
to
Vegas.
everyone, yeah. Okay. I was just gonna say, we may be making, general statements and all of that, but just remember what we're sharing is based on our own personal experiences.
Yes,
So, for ladies in a wheelchair, our lives are completely different, our experience
yeah.
is completely different, but we're sharing what we've learned and what we know. It might touch you, it might not. We're always open to questions. If there's a comment you want to make or a question you have for us, our
Bobby wants to know how my
oh,
hip is doing.
how
I had
exciting.
a hip replacement, then I broke my leg. So that's what I was doing all fall. And being back in the hospital is not a good experience. It was much easier the first time around when there weren't as many germs. Um, but
So
anyway,
this year's starting off much better for you.
much better. Thanks for asking,
Good.
Bobby. Yeah, I'm just back to my standing machine again. So that's how
Great.
Good.
far.
Yeah.
And
That's
thank you,
and
Robert. Robert's a good friend too.
Yes, and health is. I'm so glad you talked about we as we get older, and I think anybody always, whether you're in a chair or not, stretching, staying as physically fit, and getting out there makes you feel good and helps that confidence. Then that's going to help to lead to finding somebody. And I may never want to get married ever again, but that doesn't mean I don't want to enjoy the companionship of
Absolutely.
someone who makes me laugh. And I'm not even gonna limit it to men at this point. I'm gonna be like, somebody that makes me laugh, wants to travel, have a good time. We'll see. Because
There you go.
again, it's not all about sex at this age. It's about, you know, intimacy in so many different ways and finding ways to connect when sex is no longer, your first thing. Oh, gee, I want to jump your bones. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I it just,
Changes as we age. Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
just diminishes. I mean, it just does,
Absolutely.
I think for all 90% of my friends in wheelchairs, not in wheelchairs, the sex drive diminishes. And
Hmm.
you got to find different ways to give and to get love and pleasure. And if you
Absolutely.
can't do that, then it might be time to find different partners
Hmm.
again, it's a partnership. And if it
Have
can't
you
be a
noticed?
partnership, then
Have you noticed that in lesbian relationships, they're not talking about how their partner, as they age, get more and more grumpy and want to be taken care of,
Oh,
and they want to do is get away from them?
Oh yeah.
I do say my
So
lesbian
cute.
friends do seem to be happier as they age with their partners, but,
That's
again,
good.
we're older. I think that because I mean, look at Michelle. You sound like your relationship, is on strong foundation that can
yeah.
withstand those hits that come, and,
Yeah. And
I
there's
think
been some big hits.
end it
Absolutely.
with your like, what is your sage advice for making this last so long? And then Mickey.
It's interesting because my daughter just recently asked me and my husband that question. And interestingly enough, we were on the same page, as far as we both have to work at it. We both have to compromise. We both have to, it's not going to take care of itself. It's not going to be good on its own. You've got to make it work for you. You have to find what works for you and your partner. And the minute you stop trying, that's when it all starts to fizzle out. So if your heart isn't in it, you know,
It
you got
is
to make some changes.
the work, and I think that that's such a contradiction to what society feeds us about
Mhm.
marriage and love. Like, it's supposed to just be and last
Yeah,
forever, and if you really
no,
right? But it doesn't. It has to take the work to have a committed relationship that's gonna
absolutely.
last, and,
I mean, your home, a house plant, you have to take care of it before it, shrivels up and dies. You stop watering that plant and then you come and look at it and it's dried and shriveled up. And it's like, well, whose fault is that? We
Unless
stopped
your
watering
relationship is
it,
with
we stopped watering it and you can't.
Who's supposed to mention the sponsors? I saw he flashed it up on the.
Oh,
that's Juliana.
yes, except you need to.
Oh,
There
there
you
you go.
go. Sponsored by mobility professionals and urology professionals. It's the nicest people in the world. They not only
absolutely.
do I know them, but they're my clients at Expo.
You
So
can meet him at the expo then, right?
foremost, they're nice, they're loving, they're knowledgeable, um, and they're professional as their name says.
Mhm.
But yeah, damn, work with these guys because
Yeah.
they will care about you.
And you said
Unlike
they'll
And
be
thank
at
you there
the,
for we're able to bring shows like this to you.
yeah.
We hope you enjoyed our first one. We have more great topics to come. Any other parting words, ladies? I already gave my
I'm just
little.
going to ask Julienne, they'll be able to meet them at the expo, right?
oh yeah,
Dean, and who's the other guy that runs urology?
oh
Who
there's a
runs that?
few, and the young lady Sabrina, who does all the the real work to me, the paperwork. Ugh. She is just as nice as can be too. So you're gonna love them all.
They're amazing groups. And I would just like to thank all of the people who tuned in and are chatting with us and sharing their information and their insights. A live show only works when we have amazing guests to support us and to trigger our thoughts. And I would just like to say I'm so honored to have been here with you ladies today. And I look forward to
Absolutely.
many great shows in the future.
Don
Yeah, we
Wood,
have a lot of fun topics.
owner of Mobility Professionals, just hit my head. Don Woods, great guy.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, ladies. It's been really
All right, you
fun
guys take care until
chatting.
next month.
Hopefully, everybody enjoyed it.
We'll see you the
See you
first
next
Thursday
Yes,
month.
please
of
hit
the
like
month.
and share. Please hit